Hey, what's up guys, the Strong Boys 19 here. This is episode number 3 for Classic Albums Revisited, and I'm going to do an album review on this double album masterpiece, the Jimi Hendrix Experience, Electric Ladyland. Electric Ladyland came out October 16th, 1968, and this is the group's final studio album. It has 16 tracks, and its total album length is 75 minutes. And from a previous review on Classic Albums Revisited was on Trout Mask Replica by Captain Beefheart and his Magic Band. So I thought I would do the review on Electric Ladyland because I think this is the group's best album. Although I idolize IO Experience as much as Electric Ladyland, Axis Boulder's Love is a really good album, but it is my least favorite in my opinion. I just think that Electric Ladyland had to be one of these albums that needed to be talked about. And I know that I didn't plan out to review the proper trilogy of the band's albums excuse me, because I would just think that Electric Ladyland had to be the album that has to be reviewed, so why not review it? So anyways, this is an album that has been hailed as one of the greatest albums of all time, and it has been known as Hendrix's best work. So there's just a lot of things that needed to be talked about from this classic album. And as you can see, this is the double LP, the authorized Hendrix Family Edition. I know you can't really see that. The remastered album on CD. Jimi Hendrix is the producer for this album, and the record label for this album is mainly Reprise Records. Electric Ladyland had to be one of these albums that is so well written and composed. I just think that Hendrix as a guitar player had to be one of the greatest. Not because that he can experiment on any source of material, on any piece of music, stuff like that. The reason I think this is their best album, it's because I think Hendrix, as a musician, knew what to anticipate, and there's so much variety on this album. Every single song on here are just way different from each other. Of course, you would hear the sounds of the blues, rock, and hard rock genres, but on most of the tracks on here, there's tons, and I mean tons, of experimentation with many different genres, including funk, psychedelic rock, jazz fusion, and there's a lot of instrumentation that's completely filled with many different instruments, and this album is just one of the best double albums ever in my honest opinion. Besides the other members from the Jimi Hendrix Experience, Noel Redding and Mitch Mitchell, Hendrix became mainly the musician that has been focusing on Electric Ladyland, and during the making of the album he had to phone up and bring other musicians to work on most of the tracks on this album. So there's a lot of songs on here that are just extremely catchy, powerful, and full of really well imaginative styles of playing, and it is just a phenomenal achievement on what Hendrix had done on Electric Ladyland. There are the obvious ones that many people know from this album. For example, Voodoo Child's Slight Return, which is a very popular and iconic and covered hit. Introduction from the wah wah sound from the opening guitar lick, and into the whole band playing with such aggression, and their iconic cover of All Along the Watchtower, which was originally written by Bob Dylan, and Bob Dylan loved the cover. And their cover of All Along the Watchtower is another one of those very typical famed Hendrix songs, like other songs from their first two albums. Like I said, every song's really different from each other, but they are creative at the same time. And I'm going to mention a few songs on this album. Voodoo Child. It's particularly a really long 15-minute live recording on the track, and on bass guitar it was Jack Cassidy and Mitch Mitchell on the drums, and also Steve Winwood on the organ. The whole song is particularly a big, massive jam, full of improvisation, like other artists that have been very collaborative and creative of improvisation. For example, Miles Davis with Bitches Brew and In a Silent Way, and many different artists as well. The Voodoo Child track is just stupendous, from the really rhythmic beat and the improvised solos from both Hendrix and Steve Winwood on the organ. There's another song on this album called Long Hot Summer Night, which is one of those quite mid-tempo type of tracks. It does carry on a lot of beat, and also Al Kooper did piano on the track as well. It does have quite a catchy edge to it. One of my top favourites on this album is 1983, in brackets, A Merman I Should Turn to Be. That song is just full of magical variety, and it's really groovy type of lick from Hendrix and the beat, and during the whole interlude it's just nothing but so much different sounds, like swirling around, like stereo sound panning from left to right, and the phenomenal jazzy and perfection type of drum solo from Mitch Mitchell. I mean, Mitch Mitchell, you can't go anything wrong with Mitch Mitchell, and I think he's just one of the top greatest drummers of all time, period. And the track itself is another one of those really long songs, and it is just mainly close to 14 minutes. So much different instruments that have been included on the album. The percussion and the 12-string guitar, congas, saxophone, acoustic guitars. You wouldn't even believe that Jimi Hendrix would make an album like this. So the production on this album is absolutely incredible, from the musicianship to the sounds of the instruments and the whole teamwork, and many different musicians that have worked on what they did for Electric Ladyland. Just an album that I would say that is a 100% recommendation to newcomers of the Jimi Hendrix Experience, as much as I experienced and Axis Bold as Love. So let me know what you guys think of this album in the comments below. That's pretty much all I've got to say about Electric Ladyland by the Jimi Hendrix Experience, and go out and buy this album. A massive experience on so many levels, through track 1 to track 16 from start to finish. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll keep you guys posted for more reviews on classic albums revisited. and for other videos in the near future.